Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nasdaq Spotlight. I'm your host, Jack Castle, and joining me today from the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center in San Francisco is the co-founder and head of technology at Snorkel AI, Braden Hancock. Braden, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Jack, and thank you to Nasdaq and Wing VC for hosting the list. We're excited to be a part of it again this year.
Absolutely. Well, you keep scaling and earning your way on, so congratulations on that success as well. So, we're seeing this trend where enterprises are betting heavily on AI. I think I saw a stat that it was by 2025, I believe, that spend is going to be up north of 250 billion. So maybe just to level set for everybody, what are some of the trends that we're seeing in the industry now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Enterprise AI is already huge, and by all measures, likely to keep on that trend for quite some time. And I'd say though we're still very much in early innings. If from my experience, you've got maybe 10% of companies that are, in their minds, AI mature, 10% on the other end of the spectrum who are, nothing to do with AI just yet. And in the middle, the vast majority of companies today are still very much evolving what is their AI strategy going to be. And a lot of them have done their first proof of concepts. They've tasted the potential value there, and they're excited about it. But they look back at their first, proof of concepts and see that was, it took longer than we expected. That was more expensive than we expected. How are we going to operationalize this moving forward? How are we going to get to a more efficient state? And the difference maker we're seeing for a lot of these people is whether or not they're adopting this data-centric approach to AI, which makes a huge difference in the overall costs and time to market in the efforts that they're putting in.
Yeah, well said, and that's a great kind of overview. And I guess maybe just to double click on your point around data-centric AI, how is that accelerating how companies or enterprises specifically are adopting AI?
Yeah, so the data-centric aspect here, it's focusing on the idea that you don't just need more data indiscriminately, and certainly not just a model. It's really about having better data that captures specifically those signals that your model needs to learn to know what it needs to know to automate your problem or to deal with the task that you have at hand. And so we see a lot of companies stuck in this very model-centric mindset where we've collected our data set, it's fixed in our minds, and now we start iterating on that model, trying to get better performance, but it's a little bit insane, right? Like the piece that's unique to your problem is the data, not the model. And if you want to see improvement, if you want to fix error modes or improve the quality of what you're doing, you got to be focusing on the data. And so that's really what this data-centric approach to AI is all about, is reorienting your approach to AI to be much more focused on control over and iteration on the data and making that reflect what you know about your problem, what you want your model to learn about the problem.
In the data labeling market, or the options there is also growing exponentially. How does Snorkel AI stand out from some of those other options in that market?
Yeah, that's right. It's a very, very busy, very noisy space. I see a lot of AIs tossed into pitch decks and company names and wonder why is that there? No, I think there's a lot of, I'd say, companies that are getting involved in AI in different places, and a lot of them are focusing really on techniques and things that will give you small efficiency gains, marginal improvements, the 5 and 10%, which is nice. It's not nothing, but it's not transformational. And what we've seen and the approach that we took. The Snorkel project began ultimately a number of years ago, 5-6 years ago at Stanford as part of the AI lab, where we looked at let's take a step back and see is there some fundamental shift you could make that will get you not the 10% but the 10x, something dramatically better as an interface to machine learning. And for us, what we found there is the key is going from a very manual process of labeling data points one by one to a more programmatic approach, programmatic labeling being one of the core concepts behind our platform, Snorkel Flow. It's very much focused on this idea of you need to be able to iterate on your data and have this data-centric mindset about it.
One last question for you that we love to ask on this show is for the aspiring entrepreneurs out there that might be early days at that ideation stage as a founder yourself, what advice would you have for them as they're just starting out on this endeavor?
Yeah, in the very early stages where all you have is an idea, I'd say don't get too attached to that idea. But really, it's what you can build a company on is deep understanding of a problem rather than a good idea. No idea survives first contact with reality. You're gonna change, you're gonna update, you're gonna learn things. But if you can really, truly, deeply understand a problem inside and out, that's a foundation you can build on. And in our case, we were very fortunate that all of our founders had previously been ML practitioners. We'd been applying ML to solve real-world problems, and so a lot of those pains were very intuitive and visceral for us, which of course made it much easier to build a product and a company that is looking to be fairly robust, and we're excited about.
Yeah, well, that's great advice, and obviously, the right mindset, and you're living proof of that mindset and kind of getting to where you are. And congratulations again on being a winner here on the list, and looking forward to all that's to come for you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you again for tuning in to this episode of Nasdaq Spotlight.